Welcome to Saturday Night at the Movies, the podcast that celebrates classic, cult, and current films and television shows and the people that made them, and many other aspects of pop culture. I'm your host, Steve Rubin. Our producer is Ben Shrewsbury, and our signature theme was composed by Greg Lerhoff. Here it's always Saturday night, and our mission is to chronicle film, television, and pop cultural history one memory at a time. Tonight, on the 50th anniversary year of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, one of the most enduring motion picture classics of all time, we are pleased to welcome Academy Award nominated actor Brad Dourif, who gave us the unforgettable portrait of Billy Bibbit in that truly wonderful film and so many other film and television portraits. Welcome, Brad.
Thank you.
It's so nice to meet you and welcome to the show. I want to go back in time, as I'm prone to do, to when you were little. And was your family a big movie-going family? Did you go to the movies much as a little boy?
Sure. As a little boy, it was Disney mainly. But anything that was remotely scary, I ran out of the theater and hid in the back bathroom. So sometimes I wish I wasn't. But yeah, we did see film, and my mother was a very talented but amateur actress, and so I saw a lot of plays and things like that. She was very educated.
Well, you and I are kindred spirits because I also sat in the lobby during the horror films. I just couldn't, I was a sheltered only child, and there was just something really, really weird. I could handle science fiction though. I could handle that giant steel robot coming out of the saucer and the day the earth stood still. That was okay. But once they started gouging eyes out and slicing people's heads off, of course, that was back in the late 50s. But now, what was your number one theater? Do you remember like the main theater you would go to the movies at when you were little?
I don't remember the name of it. It was in Huntington, and I think it's been restored, but I may be wrong about that.
And that's Huntington, West Virginia?
West Virginia, yes.
Oh, very good. Very good. So how long did you stay in the South? I know you eventually got to New York, but you were in school in the South?
I Well, yes. I was in Huntington, and then I went to boarding schools. One was in South Carolina, and then another one was in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Now, you've done a lot of genre work, a lot of horror and very, very interesting and sometimes unsettling wrought work, and yet you were terrified of horror films when you were little. So I find that interesting that you seem to some actors you never see them in genre, but you seem to be comfortable playing interesting and off-kilter characters.
Well, my daughter was born, and I took one look at her, and I said, "Okay, I'm a whore." Um, that my job was to put a roof and finance my children.
Well, that's certainly a noble goal and a good lesson for everybody. So, by the way, have people been talking to you about Cuckoo's Nest on the 50th? Have you been getting calls at all, or am I one of the first?
No, I've been getting some calls for. I've done a couple of interviews. I kind of keep interviews at a dull roar,
Well, thank you for taking.
very dull roar.
Well, I'm a classic film historian. I just love film, and there's not as much to watch anymore from my point of view. So I have a tendency to go backwards rather than forwards. And I know that Cuckoo's Nest was a passion project for Kirk Douglas a million years ago, and Kirk mounted the play, which was moderately successful, and then couldn't get the movie going at all. And then I guess he handed over to Michael his son, and Michael became a prime mover to get the movie launched with Milos
That's
Forman.
correct.
Tell me how you got involved originally. Was it an audition process? I mean, how did you? I think
Well, I did audition, but I did a play called When You Coming Back, Red Rider, and he was a bit of a greaser, 50s greaser, and Milos Forman came and saw the play. I think Michael Douglas came and saw it first, and then said, "Milos, you should go watch this guy. He might be good for Billy Bibbit." And Milos saw it and loved the look, which we didn't do in the movie, and he was not happy about that. I got a haircut, and Milos hated it.
it's funny you should mention because I found some photographs, and I'm not much of a hair person, but I did make note of your hair. You have a lot of hair in this movie, and you say you got a haircut for it?
Yeah, yeah. It the guy couldn't make it work, and finally Milos. Um, yeah, you see, I mean, it was a greaser, so the sides had to be greased back, but the guy had cut it too short, and you couldn't do that, and so we had to go with what was there.
Right. Well, I thought it lent itself to your character very nicely. It gave you a very unique look. You certainly separated from everybody else. Okay, so they come to see Red Rider as a play, and then what happened?
Well, then Milos wanted me, and he I auditioned, and I guess I didn't mess it up, and he cast me.
We introduced the movie as a 50th anniversary. Does it seem that long ago? Does it seem like really that long ago, or do you remember it pretty well?
Um, it's a long time ago. 50 years is a lot of years. It's half a century, and there's a lot I have forgotten. And there's a lot, memory is very creative, and there's a lot of things I remember vividly, which probably are have a lot of fantasy now shifted into them.
Well, it's I think I spoke to a friend of mine recently, and he remembered a quote from you about Jack Nicholson, and I'm going to just pull up a quick picture for reference, it'll be the poster shot. He said that you said I guess he came to visit the set, and you said something along the lines of Jack is really bringing something very special to this role. Were you immediately impressed with him? I mean, was he someone who,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, first of all, I had seen The Last Detail, and I thought that was probably the most revolutionary piece of acting I had ever seen in my life. Nobody ever behaved like that before. It was completely unique and improvisational, and I think it changed, or at least he changed, and maybe Easy Rider was also a part of that. But he changed acting. People began to be much more improvisational and very natural and real than they had ever been. All theater was eliminated. There was no feeling of a theatrical performance in his work.
Now, would that be similar to what Brando and James Dean brought a couple decades earlier? Would that be similar to that, would you think?
No, no, it's different. It's different. His was much more improvisational and much more natural than theirs.
Oh, I see.
I mean, James Dean was knew how to play to the camera like nobody, and I mean, it's a lesson on how it's done. And he was powerful. I mean, when he got upset, he really got upset. And Brando was something else. Um, Brando's just Brando's a powerful, powerful inner life. like nothing you've ever seen before. And he has so much charisma that it's ridiculous. So I mean, and not that Jack doesn't have charisma, but of them all, I'm sure the most generous actor of the three great actors is probably Jack Nicholson. He's the most generous actor I've ever worked with.
I mean, he has a fire in him in this role that, I mean, if you poke him, I thought it sometimes he could explode. Um, so you get the role. Now, I was reading into it. I guess this was shot up in Oregon
Uh-huh.
in an actual mental hospital where you actually interacted with real mental patients.
Yes,
And is
they worked on. We had real mental patients who worked on the set.
and
They had jobs.
that gives new meaning to the word atmosphere. I mean, this was a very dimensional set. And I also read that you slept in the mental hospital, that your quarters were there, or were you off campus?
We were definitely off campus. You heard wrong.
Okay.
I mean, let me tell you, by the time, the day was over, the day was over.
Okay, so that was I read
We
that.
we went some places. Now, I did stutter the whole time. I always, if I have some kind of thing like stuttering or an accent or something, I do it 24/7. So I did stutter during the off time.
To stay in a bit of character.
Well, my thought is always that if I do it all the time, it will become much easier. I won't have to think about it.
Gotcha, gotcha. Let's talk a little bit about what your memories are of Milos Forman, relatively new to the scene in Hollywood, obviously with a huge career following this film. What do you remember about Milos?
I, a lot of things. He I worked with him twice. He always he never left a scene, unless he was happy. He would stay and shoot until he was happy. Um, I was always very clear what he wanted, um, as was everybody. But the force on the set was not Milos. It was, although he had a vision. I mean, there were certain, he wanted very natural work. He wanted we went up to see patients in maximum security, and it was shocking how normal these people behaved. So this was a real influence um, on the way we worked. We weren't trying to, there was no mentally shtick that got
Well,
in there,
it's funny you
and
should
there was no tolerance for it. So
it was funny you should mention that because I think I read that originally when Jack arrives, when McMurphy arrives, I think one of the initial thoughts, which was completely tossed out, was that there was like a circus atmosphere in this mental place that not that everybody was climbing the walls, but there was a lot of energy and what he replaced that with was a very low key and very quiet ward, which seems much more appropriate since Nurse Ratched is in charge.
absolutely, and I never, ever heard or was aware that anybody wanted a circus type atmosphere. It was clear, from to me at least, that everybody was, when we were at the asylum early and doing rehearsals, everybody was really looking to see really what it looked like. We were trying to make real group therapy. looked like real group therapy. And so we went to group therapy.
Actually, I heard that the audition process, when you're interacting with other actors, was kind of seeing how you would interact in that group there. Does that ring a bell at all?
Well, yeah, when there was a scene that Milos had us do, but he would say a line, and then he would say, "Okay, say the line," and the line, whoever it was would say the line, and then he would say, "Okay, so the next person says this," and then say the line. They say the line. Okay, now run the whole thing, and he built the scene that way all the way through, and that's how that audition went.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's an extraordinary cast. I am going to bring up some images. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast and can't see us on YouTube, I'll mention who these people are so that you don't feel like we're in a little vacuum here. But I'm going to start. Got to start with Christopher Lloyd. I mean, Christopher Lloyd. I think most of the time when you cut to Christopher Lloyd in this movie, he's got this look like, oh my God. It's like how nuts is this guy? It's just signature. Do you have memories of Christopher that stand out in your? I mean, this was fairly early in his career.
Um, I was stunned by how good he was. He had he's also very powerful. Um, and um, I think the best moment in the film, I think, was Christopher when the Indian breaks through the window and leaves, and he screams that scream. I mean, when I saw it, it was like everything all the stuff that I had been working on and thinking and feeling and so forth. He really, really transformed it. And that was, to me, said the whole experience. So that's all I can say about him.
I worked with him once. He couldn't have been nicer, but he's one of these actors that once he leaves the set, he just is a very quiet, low key, very background presence. I mean, he'll talk to you, but I often equate it sometimes with seeing a marionette without its strings. It's just, he's just sitting there relaxed. And yet, the minute they call action, he's a live wire. It's just amazing.
Hmm.
When you get off the set, when you're working on a film or TV show, are you fairly low key like that, or are you relaxed? I mean, what are you like when you're not on?
Oh, I'm not relaxed. I'm hardly ever relaxed. Yeah, that's not me. It's not like I, put on a show or anything. And maybe I can be quiet, but no, relaxed. I'm not like that.
Got it. Got it. Um, okay, so let us bring up, let's see. Well, Will Sampson. I mean, Will Sampson. I was reading about Will Sampson. I mean, Will Sampson, I guess before this film, Will Sampson was an Oregon park ranger who, I guess the guy who piloted the ship that you go on your little boat excursion with, the harbor master, he knew of Will. I guess they had a lot of trouble finding a very tall Native American.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Will went to prison for a bunch of years for something that they let him out when they realized that he had not done what they thought he did.
Wow.
So he spent a lot, and he was very. I mean, he really determined that he was not going to feel regret about this. That he was going to forgive and forget and live his life. And he was a pilot, and I forget it was if it was Wounded Knee or there was a might have been Wounded Knee. There was an airplane that landed and got that they had seen on radar, and that it had landed and gave supplies to a bunch of people who'd taken over the park a little bit, and it was Will. He was the pilot. He was just fearless. I mean, he was the real deal.
Yeah, and no,
I mean, and he knew when he was there, if you ever looked at him one time, he knew what it was like to be in an institution like that.
interestingly, in the original play, he's a much bigger role. I guess he's the narrator of the original play.
Yeah, and I think Milos was absolutely right that they couldn't do the real surreal stuff. That really wouldn't have worked. And I remember at the end, just before Milos showed us to it, he said, I edited in about 3 or 4 different ways, and I did all of these really cool things. And then he said, and I saw it, and I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to let the actors tell the story. And he recut it simply. And I think he was right.
You, your character is not in that final scene, obviously, the one
No.
where he rips out the washstand and goes through the window. Were you present when they filmed that?
Yes.
Very powerful.
Yes. I mean, that was really, and then after that, we went on the boat.
Right, which is the last thing you shot.
So well, it was one of the I forget if it was the last shot, but we had done all the institution. It was toward the end anyway. I mean, maybe 5 days toward the end or something like that. I don't really remember, but it was like, pow, yeah, now we can go. That was it, and all I can say is that when we went to the do the boat stuff, that was just fun, and it was a completely different feeling, and in a way we were different people,
Well, just the fresh air alone, must have been wonderful.
and the atmosphere and everything. Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great. Let me pull up another image here. Um, Sydney.
All this, a great deal of stuff that's in the movie that are scenes that Jack does, not with us, but like with when he's being interviewed by the head of the hospital. That was improv.
Wow.
That was completely improv. Some of the best dialogue in the movie.
I put up a shot of Sydney Lassick,
Yes.
who's quite the character. Tell me your memories of Sydney.
Um, Sydney was, I've worked with him a couple of times after that. Sydney is a very, very, very talented guy. I mean, actor, but he is who you see.
Very emotional.
Well, he's Cheswick in every way, and he's absolutely determined to get as much attention as he possibly can all the time. And and beyond that, he's a really sweet guy. I mean, and people can get annoyed at it, and some people were annoyed, but he was so goddamn good.
This movie has so many layers, and the characters are so vivid. You really get to know them so well. I think the only thing I ever saw Sidney in again is he's in that Spielberg film 1941. He has a really brief little part as a haberdasher, but he was also very good in that. Let me pull up another shot here. Well, let's talk a little bit about Louise Fletcher. I mean, Louise Fletcher had a very difficult role. to play Nurse Ratched. And from what I read, it was not her favorite role ever. I think she seemed, at least in post, she seems very uncomfortable in that kind of a part. The unsmiling Nurse Ratched. What are your memories of Louise?
She was wonderful and fun, and I think there was a dynamic for a while that Sydney was really pissing everybody off, and and the way Louise handled that was really, really cool. Um, and she was not at that point an incredibly experienced actor at all. She was just very talented, and she was able to give Milos the exact kind of behavior he wanted for that part, and it was so dead right and such a great fit that it very quickly got to be that she could just do no wrong. No matter everything that she did, everything that was perfect. There was never a false note in her performance ever.
I found a still of her laughing on the set. Now, as I recall, I don't know if she cracks a smile during the whole movie, but she's laughing out loud right here. And obviously, people are enjoying that atmosphere. It just, you're right, she is good. And it's funny because I try to analyze her character at times. Is she really a horrible person, or is she someone trying to do a job? And I guess it's colored by how she eventually treats you. And that makes me think that she went over the top. And at a moment when she could have cut you a break, her character didn't. And I never liked that about that. And
No, I mean that is what she absolutely, absolutely pushes Billy Bibbit over the edge. She absolutely does that. That's in the movie, and that's part of what that has to happen. That's the second act curtain, and she has to do that. There's no question about it. And there's this beautiful moment with that when she is given Martini my hat, and she takes the hat, and something is so crushed in her that this had happened on her dorm and on her watch, and that she had really lost power, and you kind of I mean it was such a great segue into how she destroys Billy Bibbit. You get it. I mean, in other words, she had this difficult thing to do, and she set it up perfectly. I thought, anyway.
no, there's so many dimensions. Let's talk a little bit about Danny DeVito. This was his film debut.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, of course, has become quite a figure in film and television,
Yes.
and so much fun. What do you remember about Danny?
Um, yeah, he was he was a lot of fun to hang out with. Um, uh, um, Martini was Martini as a character, in the way he was written, didn't have a lot of depth. Um,
I agree. It's a lot of his character is simply his movement and how he reacts to people, the look on his face. He doesn't have to say much.
yeah, no, he doesn't. I mean, we never get to find out really who he is. Um, but I thought Danny, with that, made the most out of Martini than any actor could have. I mean, he really thought through it well. I mean, he really always came up with something. There was always something there.
And visually, just a fascinating actor to watch. All of your faces were so unique and different and fun. Uh, Now I'll put up a picture of William Redfield.
Mm.
Now I read sadly that William Redfield during the making of this movie was dying of leukemia.
Yes,
But were you aware of that? Was
I
it?
was aware of it halfway through the film. Yeah.
Uh,
And I think Michael Douglas was aware of it. And well, they found out about it.
it's a very dignified performance and uh, just another part of the colors of the show. So well done.
Yeah.
Did you get to know him a little bit?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. I became friendly with him.
Just another just wonderful performance. Now, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when McMurphy is denied access to the baseball game, and he sits down in that TV room and starts to create the baseball game. That to me was such a stellar moment for Jack and just seemed like a fun scene for you guys to work in. Do you have memories of that scene?
Of course. Of course. It was just, I mean, it was mayhem. I mean, there's a lot there that was just, we were put on work detail, but we would come running out of the place yelling and screaming, and so forth. So it just went on and on and on forever.
And I suddenly real it's interesting. There's a timeless atmosphere about this movie, but it is set in the year 1963, which was the year of the Dodgers Yankees World Series. So it's a period piece, but it's not a typical period piece because there's nothing really about the period that's so unfamiliar to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Well, it's an allegory. It's yeah, it's completely yeah. What I'm trying to say, it's an
it has
allegory.
a timelessness to it. No, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be beyond time, and it does take place at a certain time, but that's only style.
You were nominated for an Oscar for practically your second movie role. I mean, that must have been an astonishing moment for you.
Yeah, yeah, that was a lot.
And did you attend? I think you did attend the awards
Yes, I did.
that year on a year that everybody honored the movie. It was Best Picture. Jack and Louise both won actor and actress. Sadly, you lost to, I guess, who did you lose to?
Um, uh, the guy with the cigar. Um, say goodnight, Gracie.
Oh, George Burns for Going in
George Burns.
Style.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if frankly, no one loses an Oscar. If you're nominated, to me, that is a win. And some actors over the years have had fairly negative thoughts about the whole idea of competition, namely George C. Scott, who was not shy in telling the Academy what he felt about competitions when he won for Patton. But
Well, he didn't. He what he said is it's a vote, and he said that makes it a popularity contest, and he said it should be based on real criteria, and the makeup artist shouldn't be choosing who the best actor was.
interesting, interesting. I often wonder sometimes that for years there were a lot of special effects movies, and yet there were three nominees. They couldn't find five films to nominate for best special effects. And I kept on saying, how is that possible? Now, in their case, they probably said the criteria was very specific as to what was a special effects Oscar. But it just seemed to me the whole purpose of the Motion Picture Academy is to honor and respect the industry and it just seemed like an odd thing, but that neither here nor there. Now, you have done a lot of projects on in TV and film, but I have to tell you that when I noticed you in the cast of Lord of the Rings, I just was so happy to see you in a in a tough role. I mean, Grima Wormtongue is not the most likable character you've ever created. He's the opposite of Billy Bibbit. Tell me about working on this film. This was probably a lengthy project for you because they spent a whole year making these films.
Oh no, they spent 3 years making these films
Three
because we
years.
went back and shot every year. Um, uh, um, I don't know. I had a conversation with Fran where we kind of nailed who the character was, and we had to use received pronunciation, and in my
I'm sorry.
case,
What did you just say? You had to.
we had to when we had to speak, we all spoke with certain accents.
Oh,
All of it was based on an English accent called received pronunciation, which is the standard broadcast English accent. And of course, because I worked the way I worked, I used the accent all the time.
now tell me about the process of you getting this role. Again, auditions, or were you just
This
selected?
time it was pure auditions. I auditioned for it. Um, it looked okay. I looked like I might get it, and then I didn't get it. And then for some reason, whoever got it turned it down, and so they called me, and I got it. That's how I got it.
It's I mentioned earlier that I don't go to the movies much anymore, but I have to say that Lord of the Rings is probably my favorite film of the 21st century in terms of just on so many levels. And
Well, to look at the film, I mean, I have never. I mean, when you were on set, every single corner was a work of art. Whether the camera ever saw it or not, it was definitely a work of art. I mean, there was a guy there when I went there at first, and there was a guy there who was making rings that he would put. So the first row would be five, then three, then two, and and that was for armor. And they had a kind of it was for chainmail armor. It was super light, and it was invented for that, so that in a sword fight, if you got hit, you wouldn't be hurt. It would actually protect you. And it was light so that people would be. So that guy had been doing that for 2 years. He'd been making those things, which then get put together to make to make the armor. Um, so there was, I mean, the work that was being done was just extraordinary.
oh no, of course, of course. Now I have a photo up here of you with the actor who plays Theoden.
Yes.
Bernard, is his last
Yeah.
Bernard Gribbins, is that his name? I think. Wonderful actor, great makeup job here. You're kind of playing Iago to his King Lear. It's interesting relationship. Well, actually, before I ask you about this, tell me about Peter Jackson. If ever there was a director with a vision, it seems like Peter just had this whole film in his head, and everything that he spouted was so brilliant. It's very, very. How could you not be impressed? What was your impression of Peter when you met him? Was he just a big kid?
In a way, he knew what he was doing, and I trusted him. He's very visual, and more so than I thought, because he had done the movie where the two girls killed their parents. What was that?
Heavenly Creatures is
Heavenly Creatures. Yes,
yes.
Heavenly Creatures. I thought was a brilliant film. I mean, I thought that was it just doesn't get much better than that. And but it was so different.
Well, I remember I started my career in publicity, and I was promoting the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland and Leonard Nimoy. And at that time, UA was promoting the animated Lord of the Rings,
Yes.
which was not very good at all. And they
No.
didn't do three films; they only did one, and it was pretty awful. So we always wondered if anybody would ever get Lord of the Rings moving again, and to see it move again, like Cuckoo's Nest, again assembling an amazing cast of perform.
Yeah.
There isn't a false note in that whole cast. I wanted to put up another picture of you with Christopher Lee,
Hmm.
who's just marvelous as Saruman. And I believe you guys are standing on this porch at Orthanc looking at 12,000 orcs. I mean, it's just it must have been a bit thrilling for you to see the movie all put together, and you could see what you're supposed to be seeing. Was it kind of a unique experience for you to see it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And I mean, when you're doing it and you're looking at nothing or, people, four or five people looking at you, and you're going, geez, I hope this works. And I looked at when I saw that, I went, yep, well, we got away with murder there. It worked.
Christopher Lee is such a storied actor. I mean, such presence, larger than life in more ways than one. Did you have fun with Christopher?
Absolutely. I mean, Christopher was a talker. So, you would sit down with him and he'd start talking. And he would say things that you said, well, not, you'd think to yourself, well, that can't possibly be true. I mean, he can't, you can't, but, the truth is that, he was like a 007 during World War II. He knew practically everybody on planet Earth. And I did a a press thing with him, which went on all day, and it was foreign press. And he greeted every single person in their own language.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was just like, who is this guy?
It's funny you should mention a 007 in World War II because his cousin was Ian Fleming.
Yes.
And I remember interviewing
Well,
him. Yeah, yeah.
go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think he didn't get the role, but I think before Joseph Wiseman was given the role of Dr. No in the first James Bond movie, I think Christopher Lee, I think, was considered for it. I think it just didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, Christopher Lee is just larger
Well,
than
the
life.
Wicker Man is one of my favorite all-time
Oh, me
films.
too. Me too.
And I thought he really, really gave that whole film a focus it was like he really believed in all that.
Oh yeah. No, that's if you haven't seen The Wicker Man, everybody, you got to watch the original with Christopher Lee and was it Edward Woodward? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, who plays the cop investigating a murder on a very strange island in the channel. Yeah, no, that is one wild and crazy movie, but you're right. Christopher Lee was great. It's funny because the movie that I always remember Christopher Lee doing an entirely different role for him was a movie called Serial. I don't know if you know it.
No, I don't.
It was a Martin Mull Tuesday Weld movie, and it takes place in right outside San Francisco in the 70s. It's kind of that whole
Well, Tuesday
era.
Wells is one of my favorite all-time actresses. She
Oh,
was extraordinary.
she plays Martin Mull's wife. You know, they're into the whole. She's into every Zen, et cetera thing, ethereal. And Christopher Lee was cast as the leader of a gay motorcycle gang. It was just, and it was just really funny. It was just fun. It was just showing his range, definitely. But tell me, we didn't talk much about Grima. I mean, what was your take on Grima? I mean, basically, Grima is not a very happy character. He's
I think I think Grima was probably pretty fucked up as a kid, and I think he was he probably got picked on, um, and I think he learned how to avoid that, and that made him very, very good at sussing people and knowing what people think. And it made him very good as an advisor to a king. So his first thing is survival. And then, he kind of falls in love
yeah, you
and
have
he can't have the girl.
yeah, you're fascinated with Eowyn. Yeah, no, that I could see that absolutely. By the way, I thought that the heart of there's so many great performances in Lord of the Rings. I thought Miranda Otto as Eowyn was just marvelous,
Yeah,
marvelous.
she was.
And also Viggo. I know you don't have a lot of scenes with Viggo, but you do have one scene in the Hall of Rohan where he arrives with Gandalf and Ian. Do you impressions of Viggo as an actor working with him?
You know, he was still, I think, underrated as an actor at that point in his career. But he did things after that that were extraordinary, and people began to see that that he was really something. But yeah, he's a star. I mean, and really good actor.
No, definitely, definitely. So as far as I'm concerned, you were a part of two movies and many more, certainly that have big fandoms. But these two movies, Cuckoo's Nest and Lord of the Rings, are timeless. 100 years from now, people will be watching those movies and admiring the performances. And it's just such a pleasure to talk to you,
Oh,
Brad.
thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for all of your good work and continued success. Is there anything coming up that we can make note of?
Actually, I'm sort of retired. um, I will do things my kids are involved in, and
Are
I'll
are
do
your kids
Chucky. I'll
are
do
you
Chucky because that's family.
that's
But
fun.
that's
Are your kids acting?
well, my daughter is in a hit series.
Oh, tell us about it.
She is in The Pit, which is about
You don't have to tell me about it. I just got through binge watching the whole series. Which part does she play?
she plays the girl with the thing around her ankle.
Oh, she's marvelous. Oh my goodness, the mother with the thing around her ankle. Tell,
Yes.
oh, I'm so by the way, for those of you who have not watched The Pit, it's on Apple Plus. It is it is marvelous. And the lead actor is Noah Wiley, who we obviously know from ER past, but the show itself is so beautifully acted. Again, just like we've been talking about, Cuckoo's Nest, Lord of the Rings, another marvelous cast. And tell us your daughter's name.
Fiona.
Is it Fiona?
Fiona Dourif.
Oh, Fiona Dourif. Oh, fabulous. It's so weird that I literally, we watched the last episode yesterday. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, no, and oh my God, it tears your heart out. The attention in this emergency room is incredible, but not to be missed. A great show. And I'm so happy for Fiona. Has she, hopefully she's enjoyed the experience.
Oh, she loves it. She really loves it. And the cast is a great cast. And the crew's also great. So she has a great time.
Oh, great, great. Well, I can't say enough about the show, and certainly her performance stands out. The way she gets involved in that whole plot line where she's trying to prevent a kid from doing something terrible was just brilliant. Really a well-written show. Considering who was behind the show, I'm not surprised. Well, everyone, you have been listening to and watching on our YouTube channel and our Fast channel, Mr. Brad Dourif. And we've learned all about Cuckoo's Nest and Lord of the Rings. And if you enjoyed our show today, please give us a thumbs up, as you can do on these platforms, and tell your friends about our show and our other podcast, Tales from Hollywoodland, which I co-host with Julian Schlossberg and Arthur E. Friedman. Keep tuning into that as well. You can Google that, Tales from Hollywoodland. And Brad, thank you so much for
Oh,
joining
my
us today.
pleasure.
And good luck with all your endeavors and with your kids. And thank you, everybody, for watching Saturday Night at the Movies and listening.
Okay.